Hey everyone, in this TFT video, we're going to be looking at our 5 best comps to play in Ranked for 10.10. There are a lot of good decks right now. The meta is pretty open, but there are a few that just kind of stand out above the rest, and those are going to be the ones we look at. So this list is curated by our experts, including Ace of Spades, who is live playing them pretty much every single day, which you can check out down below. If you want to try any of these as well, we now have a brand new game overlay that you can use. It has all of the comps. You select one and it will tell you which items you need, how to build them, which things to prioritize on the carousel, even the formation. You also have a full item database at the click of a button and even a built-in leveling guide to help you navigate the game. So there's more details and a link to get it down below. As usual, we're going to start with our ST comps, and the first of those is going to be Kale. So Kale is now the most reliable comp in the game, and one of the best, probably the best you can play. If you find early items that fit well on Kale, then this is going to be a really good comp to run, but they are extremely important, and you really need a lot of bows. Kale is probably more item reliant than pretty much any other carry, so you need to make sure that you have these items if you're going to play it. Rageblade is the first one you have to have. It gives her attack speed, it works with Blade Master, it's really good, and she needs to do more damage with her waves, so this is why it's so important. But Rapid Fire makes her basically a turret in the corner that churns out a ton of damage. That item combination, those two together, the Rageblade and the Rapid Fire, they are really important, and this is a big reason why she's suddenly so insane. Misfortune will be your secondary carry. You need a little bit more damage in this team, and Quicksilver is going to help her ultimate not get cancelled, and then any damage or mana on top of that is good. There are quite a few different units that can hold Kale items early and do well, but at level 7 you really want to hunt for one Kale, give her the items, and that'll probably be enough to get you to level 8. One of the really good things about this comp is you can run a lot of different variations, and we've actually changed it since the last time we talked about it. So it's no longer going to be 4 chrono, we're only using 2. Instead of Xayah, we've now put in the Irelia, and we've cut the Thresh for the Jace. So you'll normally probably put that Thresh back in at level 9 or until you find it. We're running Irelia here for the Mana Reaver because we've cut the Thresh for the Jace. So we only have the 2 chrono, though you'll probably put that Thresh back in when you find it, or at least at level 9. You can put spare items onto Irelia if you have any extra damage ones, and you can also cut the Jace as well for a Karma, which is really good. It gives you Mystic, but also the shield onto Kale, which is a bunch more attack speed. So if you can't find enough bows, but you still really want to force it, then there is kind of a way around it. Things like Infinity Edge can work really well with the Valkyrie passive, and even items like Morello apply on her waves. So next up, we have our Bed and Breakfast. So if Kale is the most consistently good comp, then this is definitely going to be our Brawlers and our Blasters. These use an amazing early game to win streak, and then basically just dominate the lobby. It's kind of the most straightforward comp to play as well. You save a lot of health, and you can run this basically every single game into a lot of different variations. Now, ideally, you have a red buff or you have a Giant Slayer early in the game to win streak as well on something like Illusion, but there are lots of different items that you can actually use. Let's actually take a look there first, since this patch has kind of seen a new variation of the Blasters. So a lot of people now drop 2 Blasters later and opt into Gangplank and Demolitionist instead, giving a stun and more damage. Item-wise, Jinx is still one of our biggest carries, and she can use most damage items, but Last Whisper will help you melt through tanks. Trap Claw counters a lot of meta, but you just need a defense item, and Giant Slayer is the best pure DPS item. Misfortune can use the red buff that you probably had earlier into the game, as well as any mage items you pick up throughout the game anyway, and this is where it's a little bit different. Ideally, you have at least a Guardian Angel sitting there for your Gangplank later, so that he guarantees his ultimate and the stun. Other items can definitely work as well, like Ionic Spark is really good, but he's more of like a kind of supplement to give Jinx and Misfortune a bit more time. You do want to try and make sure though that Blitzcrank is always near your Jinx, so you can get the first part of a reset at the very start of the fight. 4 Blasters can still work really well while you're pushing to level 9 or you're trying to find your Gangplank, but you should kind of aim for the one we're suggesting here eventually. Early mid game, you want 2 Blasters and 2 Brawlers if you can. That will massively help you win streak, applying the red buff or the Giant Slayer across the entire team. You can also use your Cybers though if you have your Lucian, but try to find either that or 4 Brawlers to keep your win streak going throughout the mid game. Let's move on to the last of our ST comps, and there are quite a few reroll comps around right now, like Candyland with Poppy, 9 Bombs with Ziggs, Kha'Zix for Voids, but Shredder is still by far the best. You roll for 4 units in this comp to get them 3-star, which makes it much more likely that you'll hit at least one of them after the first roll down, and you can win a streak after. You can honestly force this most games as long as you have decent items for Xayah, you find a few of them in your early shops, and no more than 2 other players are going for the same thing. The idea of this is to hyper roll while you're still level 4 and hit as many of these least 3 stars as possible, then win streak for the rest of the game and just level up. So first of all, while you don't want to lose tons of health, you need to be saving as much gold as possible until stage 3-1, and then that's just after Krugs where you roll everything. Jarvan is one of your main tanks, but he's actually really important. He also gives the attack speed for Xayah, who is your main carry and supplies most of your damage. Fiora is amazing now with the increased stun on her riposte at 3 stars, so you definitely want her, and then Caitlyn is just awesome secondary damage, especially with sniper later. Xayah does really need crit though, especially to do well late game. There are other variations that have some kind of on hit sometimes, but it just doesn't do as well in general. If you don't have Last Whisper and Infinity Edge together, you'll find yourself really hurting, barely scraping like top 4 normally. You are going to slot in Shen into this as well, so he can hold your tank items, especially if you get him to 3 star, or Jarvan can do the same thing for some more flags. Fiora and Caitlyn can also hold any other items you have, which makes it pretty flexible actually, outside of Xayah's damage items at least, like those you have to have. As you probably figured out, Xayah is the crux of this comp, but while it's nice to have like everything 3-starred, you don't really want to ruin your economy after your first reroll going for the last 3 Caitlyns you need or something that probably don't even matter that much. If you don't hit Xayah, you may need to keep rolling until you get it, but it's really important to try and build up your gold after again at level so you can kind of unlock Xayah's potential and win streak. Being honest, you probably won't have to position much differently throughout the game, but the only important parts are that Jarvan is near Xayah for the attack speed boost, which is going to be huge for her damage. Those are going to be at S tier comps, but we have a ton in A tier on our site. It's kind of hard to just pick 2, but we've gone with the ones that are considered to still be able to get first, even if it's a bit more risky. First of all, we have our lovely Mech Infiltrators, everybody's favorite comp. They have changed a little bit since the last time we took a look at them, and this patch is a lot more about the Annie and Kai'Sa carry since they are much easier to 3-star now. Also as well, one of the things that makes it better is it's less contested than it used to be, which means it's easier to actually force or play it if you want to, but you will have a huge front line with the mech and then Kai'Sa's AoE damage at the back. If you have a lot of chain vests or defensive items for the mech, you can look to run this comp, or items for Kai'Sa since she'll be your main carry now. Shaco and Kha'Zix can definitely still help to carry, especially if they are 3-star later, but they won't be the main priorities. So for the mech, we still ideally want Bramble for the defense and damage, Quicksilver to dodge Zephyrs, and then something like Titan's Resolve. Kai'Sa with Demolitionist is really how you normally win games as mech, like that is the difference between top 4 and first place, but a mana item, ideally Seraphs, and Morello to spread that damage and anti-heal is perfect. This comp is still focused around rolling, but differently to the Xayah comp. So you save your gold up to 50, you level to 6, and then slowly roll down to 50 each turn hunting for your units. If you start to drop your health a bit too much, a bit too quickly, then maybe you do want to roll down below 50 and find the units you need so that you can win streak and power up after. The mech in general as well is not as strong as soon as you swap to it anymore. So what most people do is they try to field the strongest board, like Cybers or Vanguards for example, anything like that until level 6. If you want to win as mech, then it's really important to conserve your health early by playing the early game better and then swapping once you have all the pieces ready and it's actually stronger. Once you have made that swap, make sure you are consistently scouting around to have all your mech and Kai'Sa on the correct side, especially as others are rerolling and are a bit stronger now with their 3-stars. You really do need to position well. Once you have found your Kai'Sa and Annie 3-star, then you should really aim to get to level 7 and stick in either Lux for the Sorcerer buff or Kale for Valkyrie, and at that point you can really roll for your Rumble to 3-star or go to level 8. You can also run Ziggs for Demolitionist if you don't have it on your Kai'Sa. It can actually buy your team a lot more time in fights and it's pretty good. For early mid game, as I said, you can aim for the Kha'Zix Kai'Sa early and just hard force it, stick in mech as soon as you find it, but it is a bit easier to play whatever you find, whatever is strong, try to field that strong board and then swap later. So last up, we could have loads of different ones, but we're going to look at 6 Darkstar. This has come back a little bit this patch, but it is more risky than previously. It's still an absolute contender for first place as long as you get all the pieces. The issue is you need Xerath, big time. He will be one of your biggest carries and the difference between 1st and 8th. Having a good Jin and Xerath items are essential for making this work. That and finding the Xerath are the biggest issues, so if you don't have good items for them, then you really shouldn't go this comp. This is honestly one of the biggest parts. When you roll at 8, if you don't find Xerath, you're often in quite a bit of trouble, so it is definitely high risk and high reward. Once you find your Xerath too, it absolutely pops. Like Quicksilver is needed so that he can't be interrupted in his ultimate, and because that scales with attack speed as well, Rageblade is the best damage item for him. Jin items here are a little bit different to Jin and Friends, the other comp we have with Jin. With 6 Darkstar, you ideally want to run Runen so that you can hit 2 people at once, which with the Darkstar damage buff will definitely kill them both. Any spare items you have can go on the front line, but normally it can go on something like Lulu. Even Ashe can do okay in this comp as well, especially if you find a Darkstar spatula for her. If you manage to find all the pieces to this, so Xerath 2, Lulu 2 especially as well, then it's almost unstoppable and definitely S tier material. The issue is finding 2 legendaries is pretty hard, and Jin on his own is not going to be enough to prop you up and carry for very long unless you get that to 3-star, which sometimes isn't too difficult because not many people play this comp anymore. One thing that's really important though is you don't tunnel too hard on Darkstars to start the game. They aren't going to be that strong and they won't get you very far. Use something like Vanguards, Kaelin, Snipers are actually really good. Anything like that to get you to level 7 and 8 relatively healthy, and then rolling to find your Xerath and swap to 6 Darkstar then. If you do hit everything, then this is definitely a very, very strong comp and just melts through absolutely everything. Those are going to be the 5 comps that we're going to focus on today, but we have loads of others on our website. So if you want to try something else, you want to look at a build for a different comp, then we have all of those linked down below and also in our new overlay app. Thank you for watching. Make sure you check it all out and I'll catch you in our next TFT video.